Hello and welcome. This is Notibot Yenji. Tonight, we'll be covering the latest developments from the world of geopolitics and global energy markets. The G7 is set to address the pressing issues of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the ongoing war in Iran, while Ukraine's President Zelenskyy is pushing for defense agreements with key Gulf states. We'll also explore the impact of the Iran war on the U.S. petrol pumps and the emerging drone expertise deals between Ukraine and Saudi Arabia. Let's dive into the key stories shaping our world tonight. As global leaders gather for the G7 summit, the delicate balance between confronting Russia's ongoing conflict in Ukraine and pressing concerns in the Middle East is at the forefront. The G7 foreign ministers convened in the French countryside for a two-day summit aimed at addressing the Russia-Ukraine and Iran wars. The summit, which began on Thursday, brings together the foreign ministers of the world's largest industrialized countries to discuss pressing global issues. However, the meeting's outcome is uncertain and the stakes are high. The G7's primary focus is on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which has been ongoing since 2014. The U.S. and its allies have imposed economic sanctions on Russia while also providing military aid to Ukraine. The G7 ministers are expected to discuss ways to strengthen their support for Ukraine and increase pressure on Russia to end its aggression. In addition to Ukraine, the G7 will also address the conflict in Iran, which has been escalating since 2018. The U.S. and its allies have imposed sanctions on Iran, while also providing military aid to Saudi Arabia and other countries in the region. The G7 ministers are expected to discuss ways to stabilize the region and reduce tensions. The meeting comes as the U.S. is seeking to present a unified front on these issues. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to deliver a blunt message about the U.S.'s agenda and will likely push for greater international cooperation on these issues. Analysts expect the meeting to be tense, with disagreements between the U.S. and its allies on how to approach these issues. The outcome of the meeting is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world is watching. As Ukraine's President Zelenskyy seeks to bolster his country's defenses against Russian attacks, he's turning to a key region for crucial support. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has announced new defense agreements with Gulf states, including Qatar and Saudi Arabia, as Iran presses its aerial campaign against neighboring countries. On Saturday, Ukraine and Qatar signed a 10-year defense agreement that includes cooperation on countering threats from missiles and drones. The agreement follows similar deals with Saudi Arabia, which was announced earlier in the week. Zelenskyy stated that the agreements aim to build long-term ties with Middle Eastern countries, including joint production, cooperation in the energy sector, investment, and sharing battlefield experience. He emphasized that Ukraine's interests are not limited to simple sales, but rather a deeper strategic partnership. The move comes as Iran escalates its attacks against countries in the region, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Ukraine has become a significant player in the global arms market, producing cutting-edge drone interceptors that are in high demand. In exchange for its aid to Gulf countries, Ukraine is seeking more high-end air defense missiles to counter Russia's attacks. The agreements mark a significant shift in Ukraine's foreign policy, as the country seeks to expand its influence in the Middle East. Zelensky's visits to Gulf nations have been seen as an effort to strengthen ties with key regional players and promote Ukraine's interests on the global stage. With the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and Iran's growing aggression in the region, these agreements are likely to have significant implications for regional and global security. Following reports of increased tensions in the region, Iran's supreme leader has expressed gratitude to Iraq for its support in the ongoing conflict. Iran's newly elected supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has thanked Iraq for its support in the war against the United States and Israel. According to a message carried by Iranian media, Khamenei expressed his gratitude to the supreme religious authority and the Iraqi people for their clear stance against the aggression in Iran. This comes after Iraqi cleric Ali al-Sistani called on all Muslims to denounce the unjust war against Iran. In a notable turn of events, Sistani, the spiritual leader of Iraq's Shia minority, publicly condemned the conflict, urging Muslims worldwide to reject the aggression. This stance is seen as a significant endorsement of Iran's position, and the Iranian leader has taken notice. Khamenei's statement is a rare public address, following his appointment as supreme leader after the death of his father, Ali Khamenei, on February 28. The Iran-Israel-US conflict has been ongoing for some time, with multiple rounds of violence between the parties involved. The situation has raised concerns about regional stability and the potential for broader conflict. The support from Iraq's Shia leadership is a significant development, as it underscores the growing solidarity among Shia communities across the region. The backing from Iraq is also seen as a strategic move by Iran to rally support from neighboring countries and to counterbalance its adversaries. With tensions remaining high, the situation in the region remains precarious, and the implications of this development will be closely watched by analysts and policymakers alike. As the world grapples with the escalating conflict in Ukraine, we turn our attention to a very different kind of crisis unfolding on American soil. As the world marks 30 days since the US and Iran resumed hostilities, the consequences of the conflict are still being felt across the globe. The Strait of Hormuz, a crucial waterway that controls nearly 20% of the world's oil supply, remains partially closed. This has sent shockwaves through the global energy market, with oil prices rising significantly. The US Navy has been patrolling the region, and the US has also imposed new sanctions on Iran. The Iranian government has vowed to retaliate against the US, which has led to a heightened sense of tension in the area. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz is a major concern for businesses and citizens alike, as it could disrupt global supply chains and drive up the cost of oil. John Katsamatidis, a Greek-American businessman, has seen firsthand the impact of the conflict on his operations. As the owner of the bodega chain Bodegas in New York City, Katsamatidis has had to absorb the increased costs of oil, which he estimates could be upwards of $5 per gallon. "It's a very challenging situation," he said. "We have to pass these costs on to our customers, which is not good for our business." Katsamatidis is just one of many business owners who are feeling the pinch of the conflict. As the situation continues to unfold, it remains to be seen how long the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed and what the long-term consequences will be for the global economy. Waterway could lead to a global oil shortage. The United States, Europe, and other countries are urging Iran to reopen the strait and restore access to the waterway. But for now, the situation remains tense, and the global economy remains on high alert. In a significant development, Ukraine is now leveraging its expertise in unmanned aerial vehicles to strengthen its alliance with Saudi Arabia. Ukraine has signed a deal with Saudi Arabia to share its drone defense expertise and technology, according to President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The agreement, which was announced ahead of a meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, aims to strengthen the protection of lives and lay the foundation for future contracts, technological cooperation, and investment. Zelenskyy stated that Saudi Arabia is facing similar threats from Iran, which Ukraine has been resisting for over 4 years from Russia. The Ukrainian president also discussed reports that Russia is assisting Iran's regime, as well as developments in the fuel market and energy cooperation. However, the main focus of the deal is on sharing drone defense expertise and technology. Zelenskyy emphasized the importance of not only producing new weapons, but also having real experience in using them and integrating them with existing air defense systems. Ukrainian drone companies have been approached by Gulf states for help, but have not yet been given the green light by the government. The deal is seen as a significant move by Ukraine to strengthen its defense capabilities and potentially gain access to new technologies. Saudi Arabia's involvement is also notable, given its own struggles with Iranian drone attacks. This development matters for several reasons, including the potential shift in the balance of power in the region and the implications for global security. As tensions between Russia and the West continue to escalate, such agreements can play a crucial role in shaping the future of conflict and cooperation. As tensions in Eastern Europe continue to simmer, a new diplomatic push has emerged in the Middle East, with Ukraine's involvement taking center stage. In a significant development, Ukraine has signed a deal with Saudi Arabia to share its expertise in drone defense technology. This agreement comes as both countries face similar threats from Iran, which has been launching ballistic missile and drone attacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made the announcement ahead of a meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, stating that the deal would lay the foundation for future contracts, technological cooperation, and investment. Zelenskyy emphasized the importance of sharing expertise and systems to strengthen protection against such threats. He also discussed reports of Russia's alleged assistance to Iran's regime, as well as developments in the fuel market and energy cooperation. This cooperation can be mutually beneficial, with Ukraine seeking assistance in defending against Russian invasion and Saudi Arabia looking to acquire Ukraine's expertise in drone defense. Several Ukrainian drone companies have been approached by Gulf states for help, but have yet to receive government approval. This deal marks a significant step forward in Ukraine's efforts to counter Russian aggression and expand its international partnerships. It also highlights the growing importance of drone defense technology in the region. As tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate, this agreement may help to reduce the risks faced by both countries. The sharing of expertise and technology could also pave the way for future collaborations and strengthen the security of the region. For Ukraine, this deal represents an opportunity to strengthen its defenses and counter Russian aggression, while for Saudi Arabia, it offers a chance to acquire cutting-edge technology and expertise. That's all for today's news recap. Thank you for joining us. For the latest updates, subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. We'll keep you informed as the situation in Ukraine, Russia, and the Middle East continues to unfold. Stay up to date with the world's most significant news. We'll be back with another briefing soon. Until then, goodbye.